We've been doing a fair amount of reporting recently on the impact of new digital technologies like automation, robotics, artificial intelligence on employment in the oil and gas industry, but other energy sectors as well. And a year and a half ago, I interviewed Dave Shook, who's an engineer in Alberta, who works in automation in oil and gas. He's the guy actually putting people out of work. So I wanted to follow up with him to see how much had changed in 12 to 18 months, and we'll be talking to him. So welcome to the interview, Dave.
Thank you very much.
Now, that's the lead into this. So how much has changed in 12 to 18 months?
Things have moved fast. So when I said a year and a half ago that I was the guy putting people out of work, it's because I have been doing, automation work, and automation is reducing field work. And a lot of the stuff, I also work on the leading edge, right? So I work advising companies about, where they can go in the future. A lot of companies right now, the stuff that we were suggesting they do 2 years ago, they are fully on board with. They are just rolling out as a modern way of doing business, all sorts of remote sensing, all sorts of monitoring and automation things that are really about reducing field labor. They're implementing, so all sorts of inexpensive sensors, all sorts of things like putting cameras in place, all sorts of things like they're beginning to get into augmented reality where the guy in the field, the person in the field has got like a augmented reality headset. Microsoft makes one called HoloLens, where they can show the expert back at home what they're looking at, and the expert back at home can go, oh yeah, this one is set up differently, do this instead. So yeah, massive movement right now.
Now, I did an interview last week with Lance Mortlock from Ernst & Young about a study he had written on this very topic, and their forecast is, I think it's either 2030, but maybe 2040. Canada could lose 30% of its oil and gas workers to automation and these other technologies. What's your take on that?
Oh yeah, if not before then. If you look at the staffing level of oil and gas companies, there's a lot of field operators who have spent a lot of what's called windshield time. They spend a lot of time driving out to locations, and a lot of the time what they do out in those well sites is check and to make sure rather than actually do something. So a lot of those hours that are spent driving are being replaced by automation. So that means you don't need as many people, right? So, and then in terms of the analysis piece, the engineers, the production engineers, those people, the centralization of data with the cloud and all that kind of stuff is just making it so that smaller groups of more centralized people with broader access to data and the analytics built upon that data are able to work way more effectively than the dispersed groups used to. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised at all if it's by 2025.
Wow, well, that's not quite sure what to say. That bad news for a lot of people in Alberta, Saskatchewan, and parts of BC. So what kind of were the people who are out going to check wells and that sort of thing, doing the driving around, they're top of the list. What other kind of jobs are being displaced by automation, data, and that kind of thing?
So we're seeing a lot of engineering jobs are getting consolidated by improving the business processes and the data flows. We're also seeing the usual sort of consolidation activities where two big companies merge and they wipe out one of the accounting departments, one of the procurement departments, that kind of thing. So we're beginning to see more what's called business process automation, which is where tasks that used to be sort of manual steps of people sending emails and spreadsheets and that kind of stuff are getting more rigorously automated. And that's going to wipe out a number of the sort of clerical functions as well. So first is going to be field workers. Second is going to be technical people. Third is going to be more sort of the procurement clerical side.
When I wrote my book last year, I interviewed the Jason Hinchcliffe, who leads the innovation group at Husky Energy. And he was telling me that they were, and this is just one example of what you're talking about, everybody in the Husky head office was going to learn artificial intelligence software. And the idea was that they would essentially automate their workflow. And so they would raise their labor productivity, or once that had done, they could be moved out for somebody younger and cheaper, because all the, the wisdom, the experience and so on was now automated. And
yeah,
what do you think of that?
I think that's oversold. I honestly believe that, so having spent my career doing analytics and decision-making based on data, I think that kind of thing is oversold, especially in the technical domain. I think that the right answer is to make the technical people more effective and more efficient. And then you will find that, yeah, maybe you don't need as many people driving around, but the value added by your technical people goes up, and they can be assisted by a lot of those tools. But the idea that you're going to replace human decision-making with AI ain't going to happen effectively. There's the stories of misapplication of AI are legion. There are places where you can automate. There are places where you need a human brain, and it's been oversold.
Yeah, fair enough. And I guess in a disruptive technology like this, what we find as we go through the process may not match what we thought we were going to be doing, and the consequences when we actually get it done.
Yeah, you find boundaries, right? You try things and you go, oh, well, that didn't work, but this did, right? So, and any disruptive technology also, it evolves as well. So things that were not possible become possible. So you're kind of like constantly finding where those boundaries are.
Dave, thank you very much for this. Very insightful. Really appreciate it.
Our pleasure. Take care.